Good morning, explorers. Happy Map Monday. I'm here for week 2 of my Map Monday posts where I'm sharing about the maps from the books that I've written. Last week I shared about the Blood of Kings trilogy maps, and today I'm going to talk about King's Folly, the first book in the Kinsman Chronicles, which was a prequel to the Blood of Kings. And I mentioned last week that the map from the Blood of Kings trilogy is the same map from book 3 in this series, and it's the map from my board, but it's not the map in the book in King's Folly. So you can't see it very well, but I will show you a close-up of the map from King's Folly. This was the most difficult map that I have ever created. I had a lot of fun with it. I also got to do some of the extras, like I drew these outlines of these the symbols that ended up being used by the cover designers on each of the covers. Those came from me, and they of course cleaned them up and made them beautiful, but I did make these symbols. My neighbors are having a good time over there. The shapes that were used in the shields for each of the intersections there were something else I designed. So I was having a lot of fun being a graphic designer instead of writing my book. Anyway, this is the map from this series, and I will put one on the screen in just a moment too that I'll zoom in on. One thing to point out, this was not my first version. I made so many versions of this map. In fact, I have a blog post that I wrote for Go Teen Writers about where I showed the different versions of this map, and there were at least 4 or 5. The biggest change was that it originally was this way, and I was making this map, and I had the frozen north up here and all that. You know, it made sense. But what I had forgotten was that I was creating a whole culture that was south of the equator on this planet. And it occurred to me that if my planet was south of the equator, then the frozen north wouldn't be up by the equator. So I had to turn my whole map over. And so that was the biggest change. And when I did that, I messed up where everything was, and I had to kind of scrap things and start over. There's a lot of detail in this map. Like, I spent a lot of time with the cliffs and all the shields. I designed those too. The reason that I spent a lot of time was I was trying to make it look ancient the best way that I could, and I found some really cool old maps in which, you know, they weren't really three-dimensional in the right way. You know, the cliffs spread out on all 4 sides, or all the way around where they really wouldn't have because of perspective. But I thought that looked kind of fun and old school, from like artists that maybe didn't understand that the earth was round, like that kind of thing. And so since this was an ancient map, I was going for something like that. I created a key with this map. I did not draw the little ribbony thing. I found that in I forget what you call it, but basically free clip art kind of a place, and so that is not me. But other than that, I did everything on this map. Spent a lot of time making the shields for each of the 5 main countries that were in this world. So this world consists of 5 countries. We have Armenia, Sarikar, Rurikau, Tenma, and Magonia. And the story of this book is that the world is dying. There's volcanoes, there's sinkholes, there's all kinds of traumatic natural phenomena going on, and they're losing chunks of their shore. It's disappearing. An entire city fell through a sinkhole, things like that, and they're going to have to figure out what to do about that. These posts will have some spoilers, because if I'm going to show you the map for book 2, you're going to know what happened in this book. I'll try not to spoil it, but I don't know how not to. Anyway, so that is King's Folly. One more thing on this book. My publisher released these books in a serial manner for the ebook version. So on the back of the paperback, you can see there are 3 covers here. And so if you go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, you will find 12 book covers for this series. 3 of them are these. And the other 9 are all these ebook covers. You see the back of each book has 3 in shades of colors from the main book. And these parts can be read individually. And so if you find all these books and you're like, what book do I read first? I start with the red one. Or just read the main ones, which have all 3 parts in them. So originally, this much of book 1 released first, and then 4 months later, this part released, and then 4 months later, this part released, and on for 3 years until all of the books were out. That's how they were released in ebook portions before the print. So people who were reading ebooks could get them sooner. So let me see if there's anything more interesting to share about the map in this book. Let's zoom in and look. So our heroes, this is actually epic fantasy. So we have multiple points of view in this series, which is why they're so thick. So some of our heroes are from Armenia, and they're in this part. Then we also meet some people who are way over in Magonia. We meet some people who are in Tenma, and eventually we get some people in Sarikar too. And our people journey together, and they end up going all the way down or up to Rurikau and catching a boat. And so my characters travel all over this map. This is a desert world, so and there's no fresh water on the surface. All fresh water is subterranean rivers. There's no rivers. The only even lakes in here are these 3 Great Lakes, and then this other one here, Lake Aven, and these are poisonous, and so they cannot be they cannot be used for water for bathing or even drinking. They're poisonous water. So the only water people can drink is underground, which is also troublesome when things start to cave in. They can't get to their fresh water source. So a desert land, I thought that would be interesting. I hadn't done anything like that. And so I had different types of deserts. I had fun researching all the different types of deserts that are in our planet so that I could incorporate different types for this world. So it wasn't just a mono biome, or whatever you want to call it. It had diversity even in its deserts. If you think of a place like the Sahara versus like the desert of Arizona versus like the high deserts in eastern Oregon, those are all very dry climates, but very different, and very different people that live there, and wildlife and flora and fauna and all that kind of thing. So let's see. That's mostly all. It's a fun map to look at. I have these very interesting bridges that are here, and they're kind of just built on these. They're just very rickety. Got people taking camels over them, and lots and lots and lots of canyons. Think the Grand Canyon, where people they have to go around it or cross these really crazy rickety bridges to get across. That was fun to picture in my mind how that would work. And you can see in my key what are bridges and what are the underground rivers and the cliffs and the size and everything like that. Oh, the gray, one more. The gray, these little shaded areas are places that are very foggy and strange. You wouldn't think there would be much fog and mist in a place that's so dry, but there are creatures that live there. Dangerous creatures that you don't want to run into when you can't see. And so actually the crazy king from Armenia does sacrifices in one of those places in the gray and throws people over the edge into this pit where these creepy creatures live. And so with that, I will leave you with the map from King's Folly. Oh, I didn't say what it was called. It was the map of the 5 realms, because there were 5 countries or realms, people groups in this map. So there you go. The 5 realms from King's Folly, book 1 in the Kinsman Chronicles. Until next time, this was Map Monday with Jill.